Declamation. Just want to make sure that everyone checks their phones, make sure it's either turned off or put on silent so that we're not interrupting him. So you can go ahead and come up and start whenever you're ready.
Hello, I'm Jason Buford from Cornerstone Family Schools. Today I will be presenting to you President John F. Kennedy's Rice Day and Moon speech in 1961. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm particularly delighted to be here on this occasion. We meet at a college noted for knowledge, in a city noted for progress, in a state noted for strength, and we stand in need of all three, for we meet in an hour of change and challenge, in a decade of hope and fear, in an age of both knowledge and ignorance. The greater our knowledge increases, the greater our ignorance unfolds. Despite the striking fact that the majority of the scientists the world has ever known are alive and working today. Despite that, this country's own scientific manpower is doubling every 12 years, at a rate of growth more than 3 times that of our population as a whole. Despite that, the vast stretches of the unknown and unanswered and unfinished far outstrip our collective comprehension. No man can fully grasp how far, how fast we come, but condense, if you will, the 50,000 years of man's recorded history into a time span of about a half century. Stated in these terms, we know very little about the first 40 years, except at the end of them, advanced man learned to use the skins of animals to cover them. 10 years ago, under this standard, man emerged from his caves to construct other kinds of shelter. Only 5 years ago, the man learned to write and use a cart with wheels. Christianity began less than 2 years ago. The printing press came this year, and less than 2 months ago. During this whole 50-year span of human history, the steam engine provided a new source of power. Newton explored the medium of gravity. Last month, electric lights, telephones, automobiles, and airplanes became available. Only last week did we develop penicillin, television, and nuclear power. And if America's new spacecraft succeeds in reaching Venus, we will have literally reached the stars before midnight tonight. This is a breathtaking pace, and such a pace cannot help create new ills at a disposal. New ignorances, new problems, new dangers. Surely, the opening vistas of space promise both high costs and hardships, as well as high rewards. So it is not surprising that some would have to stay where we are a little longer, to wait, to rest. But this city of Houston, this state of Texas, this country of the United States was not built by those who waited and rested and wished to look behind them. This country was conquered by those who moved forward, and so will space. William Bradford, speaking in 1630 of the founding of the Plymouth Bay Colony, said that all great and honorable actions are accompanied with great difficulty, and both must be enterprised and overcome with admirable courage. If this capsule history of our progress teaches us anything, it's that man in his quest for knowledge is determined and cannot be deterred. The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join it or not. It's one of the greatest adventures of all time, and no nation, which expects to be the leader of other nations, can expect to stay behind in this race for space. Those who came before us made certain that this country rode the first waves of the Industrial Revolution, the first waves of modern invention, and the first waves of nuclear power. And this generation does not intend to founder the backwash of the coming age of space. We mean to be a part of it, we mean to lead it. For the eyes of the world are now looking unto space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. And we have vowed that we shall not see space governed by hostile flag of conquest, but by a banner of freedom and peace. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding. But the vows of this nation can only be fulfilled if we in this nation are first, and therefore we intend to be first. In short, our leadership in science and industry, our for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all man, and to become the world's leading spacefaring nation. We set sail on this new sea because there's new knowledge to be gained, new rights to be won. To be won and used for the progress of all people. For space science, like nuclear science and all technology, has no conscience of its own. Whether it will become a force for good or ill depends on man. And only if the United States occupies a position of preeminence can we help decide whether this new ocean will be a sea of peace or a new terrifying theater of war. I do not say that we will or should go on protecting against the hostile misuse of space, any more than we go on protecting against hostile misuse of land or sea. But I do say that space can be explored and mastered without feeding the fires of war, without repeating the mistakes that man has made, extending his writ around this globe of ours. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its exploration deserves the best of all mankind. Its opportunity for peaceful cooperation may never come again. But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may as well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why 35 years ago fly the Atlantic? Why just Rice Plate, Texas? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one we're willing to accept, one we're unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win, and the others too. We shall send to the moon, 240,000 miles away from this control station in Houston. A giant rocket, more than 300 feet tall, the length of this football field. Made of new metal alloys, some which have not yet been invented, capable of handling heat and stresses several times more than have ever been experienced. Fitted together with precision better than the finest watch, carrying all the equipment needed for propulsion, guidance, control, communication, food, and survival. On an untried mission to an unknown celestial body, and return it safely to Earth, re-entering this atmosphere at speed at over 25,000 miles per hour, generating heat about half that of the temperature of the sun, almost as hot as it is here today, and do all this, and do it right, and do it first before this decade is out, and we must be bold. I'm the one who's doing all the work here, so we just want you to stay cool for a minute. However, I think we're going to do it. I think we must pay what needs to be paid. I don't think we ought to waste any money, but I think we ought to do the job. And this will be done in the decade of the 60s. When the great British explorer, George Mallory, who was to die on Mount Everest, was asked why he wanted to climb it, he said, because it is there. Well, space is there, and we're going to climb it. And the moon and the planets are there. New hopes for knowledge and peace are there. And therefore, as we set sail, we ask God's blessing, the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Thank you.
I know. Always